we're at this edition of Voices in Hyperspace. We're looking at episode 6 of season 4 entitled Into the Fire. And, you know, there were quite a few action sequences, but this was actually a pretty deep episode.
Yeah. Into the fire, that's another metaphor for some of the depth that story goes into.
Yeah. Yep. And so I was thinking for this episode we wanted to do a little bit more freeform, be a little bit more organic, and talk about the large strokes of the episode. And you know, we'll probably hit a couple of scenes here and there, but the way I want to describe it, this whole episode is a climax to the Shadow War storyline that's started in season 1, episode 1, season 1. And there are a lot of really cool things that still reference episode 1 of season 2. There are a few mysteries that are left hanging out there, and I know that they're going to address those in future episodes, because this is only episode 6. Only episode 6. This show ain't over. They finished the war this episode, though. the show's not over.
Yeah, well, they finished that war.
Yeah. Yes.
So we forgot all about Earth and Mars.
Right. Right. We kind of left those. Are they even aware that there's a shadow war going on?
Maybe the Psychor is.
Maybe.
Or the Psychor got their psychic brains up their ass.
Yeah. We'll talk about the space fascists of Psychor because they'll be popping up here pretty soon. There was a couple of really cool things that stood out about the episode that I wanted to spend a little time for us to explore, which was, what was the war actually about? Obvious themes. It's good versus evil, kind of.
The perspective of good versus evil.
It made me think about how Star Wars has like the general light side and dark side of the Force. They act out in these wars in the galaxy, and you have the Jedi and the Sith, and the whole thing is about balance with the Force. But then it's kind of like, if the Force is trying to find balance, why is the Force like killing entire planets? It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Like from there, which is exactly what happens here.
Yep.
So, it's the perspective of what I believe is good, and you have to agree with me. But everybody has their own perception of what is good or bad based on your view in the universe. And for the humans and the Minbari, the younger races, we are the ants getting stepped on by these giants. And it's not fun for us to be in the middle of your fighting, especially when you're fighting over the natural way that things work. You trying to enforce it instead of just letting it be.
Yeah. You're quoting Jakar from, I believe it was season 1, where he talks about they've seen things in the galaxy and they just don't know how to describe them, and realizing that we're just ants and there's some things out there that are incomprehensible to us. And we get to see a couple of those incomprehensible things in the form of the first ones. We'll get down to those details here pretty soon. But the ultimate battle, and we're just gonna hop to the climax of the episode, which is between the Shadows and the Vorlons. Sheridan spends the whole episode, which he's actually spent the last couple episodes, planning a confrontation between the two. And so he gets them to their spot. Now they're face to face, and there's a point where they're just ignoring us. It's almost as if we're not even here. And so the aligned worlds, the big fleet, they start setting off their bombs, and then that pisses off the Vorlons and the Shadows. And then Delenn and Sheridan are like stuck in their energy fields, and we get to see like visual depictions of what the Vorlons are and what the Shadows are. And I thought this was pretty funny. It's pretty cool, but it's pretty funny too, because the Vorlons, they are depicted as this woman with a veil over her eyes, but she's in ice. She's like in a giant ice cube. And I want to laugh at that so hard, because it's like, who was the art director that came up with like, you know what we ought to do? And then the Shadows, they don't really have a form. And this is showing the dichotomy of like their ideologies. The Vorlons were described as being frozen in their evolution by the Shadows. They're like, they're all about order and discipline, and they're just frozen evolutionarily. And so when Sheridan sees of what the Vorlons look like, it's like a giant ice cube, and I'm like, that is a great joke.
It's a great metaphor
Yeah.
for them being as like complacent and not acting for as long as they did. They're like, oh, we can't do anything. We can't do anything. We can't do anything the whole time.
Right.
So,
And it's kind of like, well, that's why they were acting all cryptic and stuff, because there's like, don't change, don't move too fast. It also reminds me of like how Starfleet in Star Trek in the early days, the way they looked at the Vulcans were stifling their progress, and it's like, why are y'all always messing us up? Why are y'all always holding us back?
uh-huh.
And it's like,
Or
well,
the Vulcans being very stiff about how they interact with us too.
mm-hmm.
Like, oh, we can't give you too much because we don't trust y'all. Y'all too emotional.
You're too
We can't give
emotional
you
and immature.
that. Which I mean is also a perspective that the Vorlons can have on the younger races. Y'all ain't ready for what we got, but they don't even have stuff together. Like they're trying to use the younger races to fix their problems.
Right. And their
Which
problems
is
are not even real problems.
right.
It's like just a difference of opinion.
And then like Delenn said, well, at the very end, the conversation between Delenn and Sheridan, it's like, we don't have anyone to guide us. I guess we'll have to make our own way,
Yep.
which is the answer to, who are we and what do you want? Like,
Yes.
figure it out.
Yes. There you go.
Precisely the answer. So the younger races are more evolved. The older races, even though they can live longer, they don't appreciate emotion. They don't appreciate life for what it is. They don't know how to, and they're looking towards the younger races to teach them. And it's like, but you're messing stuff up. You just fighting.
Yeah. And there was another thing that was pointed out by Sheridan. Is like, y'all been fighting for so long, y'all don't know what you're fighting about anymore. And then when Sheridan, Delenn, and like the younger races declared, like, we don't need you anymore, get out, they lost their purpose. This kind of goes into what you were saying about religion. So when these two like super powerful species, their whole plan was like, okay, we're gonna kill everybody, and then they get stopped by logic and reason, and the power of friendship. Like literally, they were stopped by the power of friendship.
We're getting along. Yeah, what are y'all doing?
Right.
Stop it.
When like different members of the fleet were protecting Delenn and Sheridan with their ships and blowing up, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, they did do that. But when these two godlike creatures were no longer at like these supreme roles in the life of the younger species of the galaxies, they weren't being revered anymore. They weren't liked anymore, because for the Vorlons, everybody was like, okay, y'all tripping, y'all blowing up whole planets, we don't like y'all. And with the with the Shadows, Lando was like, get out of my planet. You can't use me anymore. And so both of them were rejected by the people who originally accepted them so much before. And now they're just like without a cause. Like, if you don't worship me, what am I here for?
Right. And they arrogantly think that humans, or the younger species rather, need them in order to have a purpose. But they have their own purpose. They have their own lives. They've evolved past you guys, past the need for you guys.
Right. And it took Lorian to be like, okay, that's enough. It was like right after Sheridan was like, get the hell out of my galaxy. Lorian was like, it's time for us to go.
and in there, like he's the parent or the teacher watching. Like, okay, look, you two figure this out. I'm staying right here and watch. That's exactly what you do as like the grown up in the situation. You have to let them figure it out, even though he doesn't he kind of guides them into figuring it out, but he doesn't directly like open up and say, y'all need to figure this out. But then Sheridan is already doing it. Sheridan's like, hey, we need to figure this out. And he's like, okay, come on.
Right, yeah, yeah. It's like, okay, hey, look, we're gonna leave and let them handle this, okay? That's what he sounded like too. He was actually very like he sounded like the parent that's like, I knew you were gonna finally get here, so let's just get out of here.
Which is from a educational and parent perspective, the healthy way to do it. Because if you just tell them what they're going to do or what you need them to do, they're not critically thinking on their own. They don't learn it on their own. So if you leave them on their own, they're not going to know what to do. Like, okay, they got that instruction, but moving on past that, do we know how to think through issues? But
Mm-hmm.
you want them to be able to think through issues so they can solve problems. And like he let a lot of damage happen.
Yeah.
I feel like to feed into this metaphor I started already. They have destroyed they destroyed the living room before you was like, yeah, that's the answer. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like you could have interfered a little tiny bit so they didn't destroy so much of your furniture.
Yeah, because a lot of species died. They destroyed planets. Both of them destroyed planets, the Vorlons and the Shadows. And then they were going to destroy the fleet, too.
Kidnapping people, doing experiments on them so they can run their ships with them.
Uh, Taking over people's bodies. Like,
He said that somebody was gonna have to find me. I'm like, but you had a ship to leave the planet all this whole time.
right. Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't paint Lorien as like this great benevolent character. He does come across aloof, but he explains that early where he's talking to Ivanova, and he talks about how like, you know, long-lived species lose joy, they lose love and stuff like that because they're immortal. If you have forever amount of days, all that stuff just kind of doesn't matter. And so Lorien probably is like, he's putting forth an enormous effort to care about these people because he didn't care until Sheridan showed up on Zahadu.
Yeah. And just showing that empathy was like, I don't have the energy to do that, but
Right.
I'm gonna let him do it. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you're passionate about it, so I'm gonna just back you up because I don't have the passion. And he already gave them his instructions. What's he gonna do? Come back and give them new instructions,
Right.
which makes sense. But that would make sense, and that would defeat the metaphor.
Yeah. It makes me wonder too, like, is the reason why Lorien helped is because Kosh was in Sheridan? Because he recognized the Vorlon, he's like, oh wow, one of you guys are still around? I need to like see what y'all up to. And then when he comes to find out, it's like, oh, we're about to blow up entire planets now. Yeah, we should not do that.
Yeah. Back to the parent metaphor. He was in the living room with his wine
He was,
after
yeah.
he put the bed. But then he woke up to hear some noise and it's like, really, y'all in here doing all this? I told y'all to go to bed.
Right. Like, you old enough, you can leave the house now. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Just kind of give y'all a little bit of a teaser. We do end the war kind of here, but in the intro we'll see this. It picks up where the last episode left off, and Ivanova's looking for the first ones. Remember, she's put on her own ship and she's away from the fleet, and she's just really impatient and excited to try to like hurry the process along. Lorien says a couple of really cool things, and he's like, you got to be patient, we got one more, it'll be fine, we need this one. He talks about how even your patience can be a weapon, and I thought that was really interesting.
Yes.
And you have to remember, Ivanova is motivated by, I want to die with my friends. Like, I'm tired of all of y'all going on these suicide missions and leaving me alone. Here I am looking at a piece of space that's empty for a dude that probably don't even exist, with another dude that almost doesn't exist. And it's kind of interesting because Lorian, I mean, he says out loud what Sheridan is doing. He's like, Sheridan's plan is to create a crucible to force out the truth. It may be futile, but it's very brave and it's very human. There are some really cool things that Sheridan does in this episode that, again, like I said, it calls back to season 2, and it kind of solidifies Sheridan's name. When that comes up, I'll share it. The final of the first one finally appears, and Lorian, he's like, hey, let me introduce y'all to the humans. Sheridan, he's already in an epic battle commanding the fleet, and it's the raid on the Vorlons observation post, and they're doing that so they can create a blind spot for the fleet to go into Coriana 5, also to get their attention, like, hey y'all, we got power, we're gonna fight y'all, we're gonna kill y'all need to come get us. The chase ensues. Delenn, she's in hyperspace, and she marvels at the united fleet. 24 races ready to fight for a common cause. Of course, this is Sheridan with all of his toys that he can just march out to death. So Marcus is hanging out with Lita, and they're talking about the whole thing. And Lita is like, why are we going to Coriana 7 and not to Centauri Prime? Because, we know that the Vorlons are going to Centauri Prime. And Marcus is like, well, this is just all numbers. We got 6 billion people at Coriana 5, 3 billion at Centauri Prime, which really, they only got 3 billion people. Is it a smaller planet?
Yeah.
I gotta
Well,
look
they
that
have
up.
some different other planets that they've conquered that they probably have stations at or whatever.
Yeah. It's
Or
just really interesting to hear about.
They're so destructive, though. Like, personally destructive.
Yeah. They're extracting so much wealth from all the other planets. They're like, we don't need to breed. We got all this cool stuff.
They marry people they don't like, so they're probably not breeding on that anyway.
True. On Centauri Prime, Lando is in a rush. He's trying to hurry up and get all of the shadows out of Centauri Prime. Verini, the whatever he is, he's like what is that guy? He's the guy that like does all of this. Oh, no, he's not the prime minister. Whatever he is, Verini, the crazy, the really goofy looking. I don't even know what he is, a butler or whatever.
Centauri, the one that's always nervous.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was complaining like, we can't do all that. We're still grieving.
Yeah, and Lando's like, well, soon y'all be grieving Centauri Prime, so let's get a move on. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
And he calls an urgent meeting, and he orders Morden to be delivered the good news, which is, y'all getting the fuck out of here. Delenn learns that Ivanova has finally finished her mission, so they're all about to rendezvous. Sheridan is urging. Oh, this part I thought was hilarious, right? Because it's really small, but we're referring back to season 2. Sheridan finds out that Ivanova contacted the first ones and is returning to Babylon 5. So they're like, okay, cool, great. We're going to get together. We're going to haul ass. And so Delenn, she just spends time focused on butts again. And I'm just like, you are a 12-year-old. Yeah. I wonder what kind of running joke. That had to be the running joke of the season with her too. She
still trying to get English language. Oh yeah.
Sorry.
That's probably an inside joke with the writers or the cast or something.
Yeah, because the Delenn actress looked like she really wanted to laugh at that part, and it had to be a comedy part to bring to lighten the mood, because you can't be serious for the whole 45 minutes. You gotta break that up a little bit. This is where Lorian explains the pitfalls of immortality, because he's with Ivanova and he's explaining how they have a low birth rate. They were supposed to be nurturing the shadows and the Vorlons, and they were supposed to help the other species, but there's not many of them left. And he did say, he's like, my species can die. They can get sick or they can die from injury. And Ivanova's like, well, where are all of them? Where are they? And Lorian is like, well, some of them got sick. Some of them fell to injury. And she was just like, I'm still skeptical. Like, I don't believe that you can live forever. And I liked what he said here. Lorian rebuts with, skepticism is the language of the mind. What does your heart say? And Ivanova says, oh, well, my heart and my mind haven't spoken in a very long time. And Lorian goes, I can see that. Delenn had a moment of like, what do you mean you can see that? But then she just changes the subject all completely. I want to point out, as an audience member, this is the very subtle love story with Ivanova that's being told. She isn't listening to her heart. She's listening to her mind. But there's a character that she's been bonding with, and she's just kind of ignoring it, right?
We clearly know he has a crush on her.
Right. He wants her to be his first one.
That's a nice fun.
And so they switched the questions back to immortality. Whatever Lorian's species is like, they found the Vorlons, they found the Shadows. And, they nurtured them up to whatever level they are. But he was saying, like, to live on forever, long live species, leave behind joy and love. And he advised Ivanova, he goes, look, the one gift that you younger species have is this amazing illusion. Like, you can appreciate things like love and emotion more deeply. And so he's kind of doing that fatherly thing, like, don't make the mistakes that I made. Go love that boy.
It's kind of interesting that he makes that statement from the perspective of being that so-called higher being.
Yeah.
It's like, without having that control of the higher beings, you are more capable of these emotions and empathy and love.
Yeah. And as humans, I mean, even still, I'm like, nah, I think it would be kind of cool to live 1,000 years or 2,000 years or however long,
But what's the price? There's a price to that.
Right. Yeah. From his reporting, the price is all of the things that we like about ourselves. Love, joy, cherishing emotions, the way we care for each other, probably love in itself. Like, we connect with people in our lives and we show love and care because it's so short lived. And so we try to hang on to them like with so much fervor.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if you live long, it's kind of like you stop feeling that way. You get numb to emotions. And when people die, you don't have that care. And so that's probably a sad existence too.
Yeah. And I've heard the analogy that when this is the only life you know to live, you appreciate it more. You can do more with it instead of holding out for something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's like, you ever find yourself like, oh, if I wait long enough, this will probably not be that big a deal anymore, right? I won't have these feelings or I won't have this need. But it's like,
my heart will go away at the time.
Right.
Which it does, but
then you don't have a bunch of time left afterwards to like feel other things.
Yeah, you kind of have to live through it and not just wait for it to go away.
Right.
It's hard to do. You know you only got one life.
Real quickly, we see that on Centauri, it's revealed through one of the ministers that it was Morden and not Rifa who orchestrated the death of Lady Adira. And Malari loses his mind because, first off, we saw what it was. We saw how like he rejected the Shadows, and they were like, he's like, you can't do anything to me. I'm invincible. And then they kill Adira, and his heart is utterly broken. Let's not forget Lando started a whole war. Let's not forget that Lando.
This is all his fault. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Oh, Morgan's the one that killed her. However, it is his fault.
It is his fault, and he thought it was. He thought it was Rifa because I think Morden was like, there was some sort of indicator, and I can't remember if it was from Morden or what, that it was Rifa. But then Lando felt good when he got revenge on Rifa and had his ass beat by a bunch of Narn.
Well, Rifa wanted to Rifa was trying to have some type of hold over Lando anyway.
Yeah.
So he thought that was him reversing the whole, because he poisoned him and he's like, I'm going to get him, and then she dies. So he assumes that he did it because he poisoned him. Yeah. They a mess. They a soap opera on their own.
Yeah. And so he loses his mind. He's screaming. He's like, he thinking that it's Rifa, but now he knows it's Morden. And knowing that Morden is on his way to the throne, we'll see how that goes.
The cinematography for that, where they were spinning around him because he's spiraling, that was really good.
Oh yeah, 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 and Peter Jurassic's performance is astounding. Wait, hold on, was Jakar just not in this episode at all?
Yeah, he won't be.
Wow.
He's gone.
Wow. You know, I didn't notice that. Okay. Ivanova is in a hurry to get back to the fleet, and she's like saying her Minbari poorly, but Lorian, this is where he's like, just kind of chill out. Your patience can be a weapon. And he talks about, I like, again, how he talks. He says that you cannot win this war with force. And he says that the outcome depends on Sheridan's understanding. Sheridan understands you can't win it by force, but I hope he knows that he knows. And so Lorian, again, he's being aloof, and he's like, I think I know where this is going. Hopefully Sheridan is not an idiot. I'm sorry.
So he's the one.
He is the one. So the fleet is gathering at Coriana 6. Sheridan assesses the whole readiness of it, and he's like, this is good. It's not great, because, he said that before. Now, we can't really win. And they're like, what do you mean we can't win? We have, pretty much the biggest fleet in history. And he's like, no, we hope that we can help buy time so we can let the truth prevail. And so this is where I was talking about, they were referencing season 2. They are placing the Narn, they are placing the Narn bombs, the nuclear bombs, in the asteroids around Coriana 6. And this is what Sheridan did in the war with the Minbari. He mined the asteroids with bombs, and that's how he took down the star, the Dark Star. He is the Star Killer. They asked Lita to scan for the enemies because they will need her ability to contact the shadows. She's done it before. And also remember, she was enhanced by Vorlons, so she knows she's got some skills up there. Morden finally makes it to the throne room, and this is where Lando is like, okay, the Vorlons are on the way, and you need to get y'all shit and leave. And Morden is like, no, we have a deal. Besides, the Vorlons wouldn't dare come blow this place up. And Lando is like, okay, look, we need to talk. Speaking of your friends, I need you to hold real still. And so, it's funny, it's cool, but it's also a little conspicuous because the guards that are with Morden, they move way out the way. And Lando has the guards that are with him blast and kill the shadows that are always with Morden. They're just cloaked or whatever. So they're murdered. And Morden is like, oh shoot. All right, I'm here by myself. And then he is like, all right, now we can talk. Here's what you need to do. You need to get your shit and you need to go. And Morden is like, no, we had a deal. My friends, they're going to be here and there's nothing you can do about it. Besides, what is there to do? You going to blow up the whole island? And Lando is like, now did you talk about it? He pulls out a detonator and blows up the island.
You thought I wasn't crazy? Of course I'm crazy.
Yeah. And so that just completely astounds Morden because he didn't think Lando was capable. I mean, he knew he was capable of atrocities. Yeah, I'll start a galactic war, but I'm not gonna blow up a planet. And and Lando was explaining like, yeah, the people on Selene knew what they were signing up for. So yeah, sorry, your friends and my friends, they're all dead. So that'll spare us from the Vorlons blowing up our planet.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he had took all the people he took out of the palace that were uh Cartaggio's people
Oh yeah,
and sent them to Selene so that it didn't look like he's it doesn't look like I'm getting rid of you. I'm assigning you to this post
yeah. You need to.
and then blow it up.
Yeah,
So he blew up all his
yeah. Two birds, one stone. um. So back on the ship, Lear reports that the Vorlons and the Shadows are heading straight for each other. They're ignoring the army of light, so they're just like on site. They're like on site. I see a shadow ship. I'm about to blow the shit up. Uh, and this is where Sheridan is like, okay, we need to detonate those bombs so we can get their attention. And the idea is to get both sides pissed off so they can fight so they can like pay attention. I wrote in my notes like, oh yeah, the Star Killer tactic. Is that the Star Killer maneuver or the Sheridan maneuver? I know that they play a lot with that in Star Trek, naming certain types of tactics after people. Now on the bridge of Ivanova's ship, Marcus appears out of nowhere. He tells her that he gave up his seat in the away shuttle to Lorian. So Lorian can get away and escape, and Marcus would just stay on board for the battle. Beautiful reasoning, Marcus. You just found a reason to hang out with your sweetheart during probably the last day you two will ever be alive together. So, bravo. Ever the
and couldn't make it about wanting to be with her. It's like, oh, I'm just being nice to somebody else. Not that I want to be here with you. He's he's a badass about everything else, but we can't expect everyone to be perfect at everything. Yeah, it makes him kind of enduring. Like
all the perfect goes into him preparing his hair.
And speaking Minbari and fighting
and use flirtatious poetry. Anyway, so the planet killer is headed towards Coriana 6. Sheridan calls for the first ones, and they come out, and there's an epic battle, and they destroy the planet killer, which is a giant ship that looks like to me it looks like a giant tick. It's kind of gross looking. I wrote in my notes, because we are looking at like the extremism. This is the pitfall of extremism. The pursuit of ideological purity at the cost of sentient life. They were just going to destroy the planet because it had been touched by the shadows. And that's what they're planning for Centauri Prime. Back on Centauri Prime, Lando is talking to Veer, and he's like, the shadow influence has been removed from the planet, and they're very happy, like, okay, we're going to survive this thing. Lando sends Veer out to the garden, and out in the garden you have Morden's head on a pike, and Veer looks at it. He kind of looks left, he looks right, and he waves at it. And then we get a little bit of a flashback of what Veer said he really wanted. And he was like, you know what? This is what I want. If I swear, if I live long enough, I want to see your head on a pike. And when I see it, I'm going to wave at it just like this. Because Veer did not like Morden at all. If Veer hated anybody, it was that dude.
And the funny part is, it's not funny, but the funny part is, he was so distraught over killing the psychopath killer king that they had.
Yeah, that's true.
But with Morgan, it's like a little smile on the wave, like, all right. He's celebrating that. Like,
I'm glad it's another.
That's how much he's so big guy for you to be happy about his death meant a lot.
Yep.
He meant that shit.
Yep. And so very soon after that, Lando is like, okay, we did it. They're all dead. And then the killer that was headed to Centauri Prime appears above head. And this thing is massive. It is so massive that it eclipses the Centauri sun. And Lando is like, I don't understand. I told them that we have destroyed all of the shadow influences. And Veer is like, no, Lando, there's one more thing that has been touched by the shadows. And Lando's like, what? And Veer points at Lando. And I'm like, that is such a cool, clever way to do that. Because, Lando was being manipulated by the shadows the entire time.
He was working with them. He had them attack the Narn homeworld. Like, you one of them.
Yep. Right. And so the idea is the Vorlons are going to kill the entire planet because of this one dude. All of Lando's chickens are about to come home to roost. He's about to face consequences.
Consequences actions.
Right. And Lando's like, quick, Veer, kill me now. Kill me now and show them the proof so they know that I'm dead. Right.
And this is why Jakar was not in this episode.
Yeah, right. Because Jakar be like, okay. So we flash away, and Lita is on the White Star, and she's taken over by one of the Vorlons, and she's like, okay, it's the Vorlons like, okay, you wanted our attentions, okay, you got it now, and they trap Sheridan in an energy field, and then after Sheridan's in an energy field, the shadows take over Lita, and they trap Delenn, and they're like, what do we do? And Lorian is like, don't do anything. Don't touch him. If you touch him, he'll die. He's like, this is the confrontation that they were hoping for. And so Lorian is protecting them, but he's also projecting what's going on in like whatever the astral realm or their mind or whatever to the rest of the fleet. And this is where we see that Sheridan's confronting the Vorlon figure that's in ice. She's an ice queen. She's an ice princess. The shadows they're taking over. They just look like the different versions of the Babylon 5 crew to Delenn.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because, again, I originally described the Vorlons as paternalistic, authoritarian. They value order over all things else, but so do the shadows. The shadows, they are eugenicists, but they're authoritarian. They're also pretty paternalistic because they look at the younger species as like children that can be manipulated. So this is kind of like your helicopter parent versus your gaslighting, narcissistic parent.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they defy, like each of them defy each one that they're talking to. The Vorlons are like, you know what? You guys helped us. We're going to murder these people now. And Sheridan is struggling with them saying like, well, the fact that we're standing up for ourselves, you guys can't stand it. The Vorlons don't like that the humans or like the younger species are stepping out of line. And the shadows don't like that the species don't want to be in like chaotic war all the time. They even said like, you get strong through conflict. You get stronger through war. Don't you want to be strong?
Mm-hmm. And that's a teach that happens in religion. Like your suffering will bring you more or goodness or whatever. Like it's okay if you suffer because there's more for you later, or you'll always get things out of suffering.
Yeah.
When it's like you don't have to bring suffering. This universe is dying to kill us.
Right. You don't have to champion suffering either. You don't need to like make it a virtue. It's a thing. Mm-hmm. It's a thing that happens. A stray asteroid strikes the White Star, and it like releases Sheridan and Delenn, and this prompts the Vorlons and the Shadows to envelop the Army of Light in a death cloud, and it's draining the energy. And like as it's draining the energy, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Sheridan, but they were saying like, "Hey, we're losing energy, and pretty soon we'll just be out in cold space, will freeze to air and whatever the life support stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, Sheridan and Delenn, they start to turn the questions back on the shadows. The shadows and the Vorlons. It's like, you always ask, what do you want and who are you? We want to know, what do you want? Who are you? and they refuse, like they refuse to take sides with the Vorlons of the Shadows. They kind of look at them the same, like, we don't need you anymore. And so the Death Cloud is attacking and it's closing in, but some of the younger races, some of the ships from the younger species, they're jumping in the way to intercept like the missiles and like all the projectiles coming towards Sheridan's White Star. And it's showing that the effort that Sheridan put in and that the humans put in was working, because these people are now sacrificing themselves, not for the Vorlons, not for the Shadows, not for fear, but for hope that they will have the opportunity to choose their own destiny. Mm-hmm. It makes me think too, like, this is something that maybe the Vorlons and the Shadows didn't consider at all.
Right. Because they think that they need them. And right. They haven't thought past the fact that I'm an authority.
Mm-hmm.
A stance and listen to one of us.
Yep. And this is where Sheridan tells them to get the hell out of my galaxy. And then Lorian steps in. He's like, hey, you know, he's probably right. I think it's time for you guys to leave. And this is when our big bad protagonist and antagonist, or our big bad evil and good, start to look just like children.
Uh-huh. They're kind of standing there like they're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. And Lorian is like, you know, maybe it's time for y'all to go beyond the veil, you know, beyond the rim. And the Shadows are like, are you going to go with us? And Lorian, he shows a lot of like patience and empathy, because it's like, maybe the reason they didn't want to leave is because they thought they were going to be alone. And he explains,
even though they have each other.
I mean, well, they hate each other though. They're in a toxic relationship that they can't get out of.
Not to mention all the first ones they had to gather up. Y'all could find your siblings and take them with you.
Right.
Get your brother and sister. Take
Go get your sister. Go. Y'all need to get out of here. Put your clothes. Go down the street and tell your cousin to come on. But yeah, Lorian explains like, okay, I'm gonna leave too, and I don't. It's kind of explaining like the damage that you've done is a lot, and it's time to go. But I'm gonna be with you. He's gonna perform intergalactic therapy on these two species. It's gonna help them reconcile their differences, do some shadow work and some Vorlon work. And I'm sorry. That was too goofy. I couldn't help it. And
it works.
And help them become better sentient species, because they don't know if they will live. They don't know if they will live forever. They don't know what they're gonna find beyond the rim. Lorian is talking about it's gonna be the other races that left before, and they're gonna rejoin them.
We've seen the motif. I thought that behind death, like we've seen the motif with bar. Death meaning that you're also be introduced to the universe. We saw that with the little cult in the ship on the station, hidden in the station. That their time is up. Like their usefulness as they are is no longer relevant.
Yeah.
So their energy, the way it is, doesn't need to be, like, because the newer races have grown past that.
Yeah. I kind of feel,
and they found death on this episode, especially when it came to the first one.
Yeah, it made me think the same thing too. Because, well, part of the reason why we have the motif of people going beyond the rim dying. It's due to like the movies after the series where they honor some of the cast members who passed away by saying that they have traveled beyond the rim. That is one of the reasons why it's super sad to watch the intro of the show, because you're like, I think there are more cast members who have died than there are alive right now. And it's super sad. We can spend some time talking about that when we do some retrospective. But after this encounter, Lorien convinces between Sheridan, Delenn, the younger species, and Lorien, they convince the Shadows and the Vorlons to leave. And so they bid farewell, noting that the younger races must now forge their own future. And this is pretty significant. We've won the war, but it's not just that we won the war. We've won the right to choose our own future. And I think this is J. Michael Straczynski. I feel like he tries this in every TV series, or even in every series that he does, where it's like, we got rid of religion and we're going to make our own decisions. Yay us. But it kind of depends on how he does it. Cause like, I think in Babylon 5 is happy and it's like, triumphant, but I think it's Jericho. What's the one with, Luke Perry and, Malcolm Jamar Warner?
Yeah,
Jericho. And, there's this monologue that Luke Perry gives where he's yelling at God. And I'm like, I get what you're doing, J. Michael Straczynski, but this is not subtle. It's not cool. You just sound angry.
Yeah. And a lot of people think that when people leave religion, it's just because they're angry. And I wonder if that's part of it.
Yeah, probably.
Because they called Jericho. Especially since it's called Jericho.
Yeah, I know, right? So we have won the war. On Centauri Prime, Lando and Veer are celebrating their freedom from the Shadows. Lando agrees that he's going to go back to Babylon 5, and he's hoping to avoid unrest in the royal court. But you have to remember, as much as he wants to like get away from that throne, he's still the prime minister.
Yeah. You can't just leave as soon as you took the position.
Right.
Or maybe he's going to let them grieve the king that was trying to kill them. Yeah. He should be partying with the Narn.
Right. Like, yeah, y'all don't grieve too hard. He was going to let y'all burn, so, Sheridan and Delenn reflect on the end of the Second Age, and this is the beginning of the Third Age. The younger races are free to create their own future and without the influence of the first ones. Sheridan and Delenn, they conclude that the future is theirs to shape. Sheridan is finishing the thought like, now we stop being afraid of the Shadows. And this kind of has like the perfect ending, not just to this episode, but to the series. And
yeah,
because it was so epic. It was so epic up until this point.
And it was such a clean closing outside of, tapping.
Yeah. And, while that does happen, you have to start thinking like, wait a minute, there's a lot more show left. What did we forget? We forgot a couple things. One, Garibaldi, also not in this episode. What's he up to?
Yeah.
G'Kar, not in this episode. What's he up to? Delenn, in this episode, all up in this episode. But remember, she still got some secrets. You mentioned it before, but not featured in this episode. Mars and Earth, Psychor, whatever is going on Earth with the president and like their whole fascist order.
Yeah, we've had two crazy leaders.
Yeah.
Two crazy leaders that were put in power by some other people who were supposed to be kind of trying to some reason.
Talk about a shadow war. Yeah. We also don't know much about what is going on with the telepath Underground Railroad, and so there's some things happening in the background.
For the ships.
What?
They recruited some of them because they had to go find Franklin so that they could get the records from him because he had destroyed everything.
Say
When he
that
was
again.
going on his walk.
Oh,
Well, they found Franklin on his walkabout so that they could find out where the ones that he helped get away so they can use them on the ships.
Yeah,
Against
that's
the
right. But
so.
they were using Minbari telepaths, human telepaths that were signing up, plus the telepaths that they had saved from that stasis thing, that ship. So yeah, there's a lot to go along with that.
Yeah. They left it open for more stuff to happen, even though they just closed the biggest mystery of the whole show.
Yeah. So it means that even though the Shadow War is over, there's still a lot of problems at home that we got to figure out, and problems on Babylon 5.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like real life. When you solve one problem, you still got 20 others.
Yeah, right. So we'll see. So that's the end of this episode, and the next one starts off with a celebration, but that's when we start to see, like, we don't really get a whole lot of time to celebrate. So
yeah. As usual.
All right, let's get out of here. Thank y'all for joining us for this episode of Voices in Hyperspace. You can join us and continue the conversation on our YouTube and on our Facebook at Voices in Hyperspace. I am Legendary Black Lion. You can find me on Instagram at Legendary Black Lion.
I'm Mel Silo. You can find me at melsrebellion.com with my books. And if you get one on Amazon, give me a review and let me out of it.
Thank you. And we will see you next time.